I would say I'm an accidental marketer. So when I first started in marketing, that was like 20 over years ago, it was really dumb luck that I stumbled upon the marketing role. So started with Citibank. So that's like the University of Banking. So was quite fortunate and blessed to actually at a young age to helm a team of 10 marketers and 10 sales staff. And from then on, because banking is really at the forefront of marketing, so I got a chance to do, back then it was not really called digital marketing, just saying marketing online, right? Marketing on the World Wide Web. So I have a chance to be exposed to both offline and online marketing. Today we call it omni-channel marketing. So from then on, it took a very interesting route from banking. I jumped to Singtel. So I launched Singtel TV. So I have a chance to do, again, marketing from a digital perspective and also offline and also through cable TV marketing. And back then, I think for youngsters like yourself, you're familiar with downloads and paying for downloads. Back then, it was still very in its infancy stages. So we had to market this thing called video on demand. So that was the precursor before Netflix. And after that, had the good fortune to jump to Skype, or Skype Microsoft, which is now being acquired by Microsoft. So again, forefront of this thing called VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. Today, you guys are using it on WhatsApp, using it on Telegram, where it's so convenient to make a call. So back then, Skype was the only giant that allows you to call for free. So have the good fortune to spearhead and do marketing for Skype around the region. Took the unusual route. So after having done my stint with Skype, I was asked to join Ogilvy and join the digital division of Ogilvy One. Right, and we are doing digital advertising. That was really fun, right? And that was the days where we still call it the madman, where we spend time understanding the client's problems. So Ogilvy One was a specialist division within the family of Ogilvy that just do nothing but digital. Then I did my fasting, and after that I went over to Havas, ran the paid media division, paid digital media division for both Singapore and Malaysia. After a while, I was headhunted to join Hill & Knowlton to do and start up the digital content lab for both content and PR for Singapore and Malaysia. So that's an interesting route from client then to agency. So that's how I think I cut my teeth in doing digital marketing. I think for me, I would say that the inspiration sources come from a few. One is like you young people, I love to consume content and knowledge, so I read widely and read widely from different sources. So whether is it reading from Quartz, Medium, or even so-called the traditional publications like South China Morning Post, Straits Times, New York Times. So one thing I love is to read and to consume and assimilate knowledge. The second thing though, don't call me a stalker, is to observe how people behave, right? And see how do they behave in different contexts and then draw learnings from them. The other thing is to actively listen, right? To listen to what they're saying and then taking cues into that. I think the most important thing is to synthesize what I've read, how I observe, what I've heard, and then do reflections and say, why do people behave that way? So I think those are my sources of inspiration when it comes to applying the insights of what drives people to behave the way they do and say the way they say. And is it repetitive? I think not. I think people are always surprising in how they behave. So I think there's never a dull moment in marketing. So I'll quote none of the hard skills, but I think the 3 soft skills for you to be successful in marketing or in any role would be, I think first you must be passionate in what you do. Definitely find your passion. It may not be the stuff that you study in school or in uni, but find your passion. So I graduated with a postgraduate in banking and finance. Right? Only spent 6 years in banking, but make the switch to marketing all the way. So be passionate in what you do. Second, like what the late Steve Jobs has mentioned, stay hungry. Always tell yourself that look, there's always something to learn. Right? Never be contented with what you know so far, because information is the norm. Right? Information is all over the place. I think the key thing is to tell yourself what are the insights, the distilled knowledge I can get from that. Right? Last but not least is to stay, to have a sense of humility and be humble. Right? Because it's always okay to know to admit what you don't know. It's always okay to say, look, there's something else I can learn from this particular person. So the first thing I ask myself is, how do I want to be managed? So I hate micromanagers. So in that case, in reflection of how I want to be managed, I in turn reflect that to how I manage my team that I have. So first and foremost, I like to manage by objectives. What's the end goal we're going to reach by the end of this year? How do I see you being successful in your role? So that's why, one, management by objective. Second is to really focus on the big picture. What are we all heading towards, right? What's the end goal that we want our team to be successful in? If you look back in 2021, what's the one or two or three most important thing that you can proudly put on your CV? In terms of my management style, I think I take on much of the role of a mentor or coach, because I think the biggest impact I can have is to influence how you will see yourself, both professionally and personally. And given that I'm 47 years old, I really love to pass down the knowledge of what I've accumulated to the people that work with me, either directly or indirectly. That's a tough one. It's like picking your favorite child. There's a few. I think I'll pick some that's close to my heart. First and foremost will be this massive campaign we did when I was at Ogilvy One with Singtel. We launched this campaign called Hawker Heroes. So if you don't know, I love food. So this is a so-called a campaign that we structured together that has a very clear beginning and ending. And one of the things was, how do we actually spark a conversation that is close to the heart of Singaporeans, which is about food. So in a way, we have to structure and plan a viral conversation that is like a riff-off between local bloggers and influencers and with foreign chefs. In this case was Gordon Ramsay. So we just structure the whole conversation to make it look organic, and we have to, in a way, structure it to go viral. So in the end, we did. And it sparked out a conversation with finally Gordon Ramsay accepting a challenge to challenge against the best of the best in terms of the hawkers that we can. Because Gordon Ramsay is known to be a 6-star Michelin chef, right? So he accepted the challenge. He came down to Singapore, spent 5 days learning from the respective hawkers. In this case was, if you can recall the campaign, 328 Katong Laksa, Jumbo Seafood for the chili crab, and last but not least, if I recall, Tian Tian Chicken Rice, which is just a stone throw away. So why was it exciting? Because it was the first of its kind that incorporates, right, getting mass participation for Singaporeans to vote on digital out-of-home bus stops, to vote on the app, to vote on websites, right? And it's harnessing the collective wisdom of Singaporeans, right, to pick the top 3 hawkers. So these 3 hawkers I just mentioned didn't just came about by us, right? It came about by all of us. So in a way, it's a great campaign because it harness on multiple aspects of digital, social, digital out-of-home marketing, and it was a great campaign. That was one of the ones that I really fondly remember. The other one that I would say I really loved was to help SATS launch this particular app called Ready to Travel. We know that in the travel industry, there are tons of travel apps that you use, right? And then for a company called SATS, S-A-T-S, that does your back-end baggage claims, it's a nobody, yeah, because they're all on the back end, they're more B2B, right? It was great because we managed in the first year to get 500,000 downloads. It was fun because we get to work with tons of influencers that influence the campaign in a certain way. In fact, we structured the campaigns. If you watch the movie The Seven, which talks about the 7 sins, we reverse out the sins. Instead of saying it in a positive way like gluttony, we launched the feast campaign. Instead of, and then we have an influencer that's respectively big in food, right, to talk about this particular campaign. So it was really fun. So that was using micro and macro influencers to help to launch an app. Because what we did was we borrowed where this brand SATS lacked the authority. We borrowed the authority and influencers from influencers to help them launch an app that's in a cluttered space. So those are 2 of my very fond campaigns I always think about. I think it's not just in marketing in general, but as a general business advice is perfection is the enemy of execution, right? Don't aim for 100% perfection because you never get it. You end up stressing yourself, stressing your colleagues, stressing your staff that works for you. I think it's more important, before Agile becomes hip, right? It's more important to really, once you have 60-70% of where you think is right, just go, just launch, and then learn along the way. Learn by iterations. I mean, that's before this hip term called minimum viable product came about, right? I think that's something that I wish someone were to share that with me at the beginning of my career. I would have less white hair.